What if I told you that stress isn't just in your head, but it's silently rewriting the way every single system in your body works? Imagine this. Your heart suddenly races, your breath sharpens, your pupils widen, and your body is flooded with chemicals you never asked for. This isn't anxiety in the abstract. It's your biology being hijacked in real time. For years, we've been told that stress is just feeling overwhelmed. But the truth is far more unsettling. Stress is a full-body chain reaction that begins deep inside your brain and cascades through your nervous system, your adrenal glands, and even down to your gut. And while a little stress might push you to perform better or escape danger, what happens when that stress never shuts off? That's the terrifying question nobody really talks about. Welcome to the Wellness Way, where today we'll dive into what stress is really doing to your body and why it might not be the enemy you think until it lingers too long. If you're ready to uncover the shocking truth and protect your health, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss the next deep dive. I used to believe that stress was just a state of mind. You know, that familiar tension that builds up when you're running late, when the bills stack up, or when life simply feels too heavy. To me, stress was just a mental weight, something invisible floating around in my head. But the more I've learned, the more I've realized how wrong that assumption was. Stress isn't just in your mind. It's in your body. In fact, it's everywhere in your body, pulling invisible strings and triggering reactions you might not even notice until they overwhelm you. That realization shocked me, and honestly, it changed the way I think about my own health. Here's the thing. The moment your brain perceives a threat, whether that's a looming deadline at work or something as sudden as someone jumping out at you, your body doesn't politely wait for you to figure out how to respond. No, it charges ahead with its own plan. Your nervous system flips a switch, your hormones pour into your bloodstream, and in the blink of an eye, your entire physiology transforms. It's like a silent alarm going off, activating every system inside you to prepare for a fight or to run for your life. I remember one particular moment when this hit me hard. I was in the kitchen late at night, reaching for a glass of water, when a family member accidentally startled me. Instantly, my heart was pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. My hands got clammy, my chest felt tight, and even after realizing there was no danger, my body refused to calm down right away. That was the first time I truly noticed how powerful this reaction could be. What's fascinating and a little frightening is how automatic it all is. You don't get to negotiate with your body when this happens. Your pupils widen to let in more light. Your lungs pull in more oxygen, your heart speeds up to push blood into your muscles, and your skin starts to sweat to cool you down, as if you're already in a sprint. All of this happens in milliseconds before you've even had the chance to think. And in that moment, your body is preparing you for survival, whether the threat is a wild animal, an unexpected noise, or something as modern and intangible as an angry email. But here's where things get even more interesting. That immediate jolt, that pounding heart and rush of adrenaline you feel, is only the beginning. Your brain doesn't just press one button and call it a day. It sets off a chain reaction. First, the quick response. Your nervous system sends electric signals to your organs, giving you that instant surge. Then, just a few seconds later, your adrenal glands start pumping out adrenaline into your bloodstream, amplifying everything you already felt. Suddenly, you're not just alert, you're wired. Your blood sugar rises, your muscles are charged, and your brain is laser focused on whatever's in front of you. When I think back to moments of intense stress in my own life, like standing backstage before an important presentation, it all makes sense now. That restless energy, the racing thoughts, the inability to sit still, it wasn't just nerves. It was my biology, carefully crafted by evolution, forcing me to be ready for action. And honestly, I have to admit, sometimes it worked in my favor. That stress gave me the energy to walk out with confidence and deliver my talk in a way I never could have without it. But there's still another layer, a slower, more drawn-out response that kicks in minutes after the first wave. This is when cortisol, the so-called stress hormone, enters the stage. Cortisol takes longer to build up, but once it does, it sustains that state of alertness far beyond the initial scare. And while this can be useful, say during a long workout or a stressful meeting, it's also where the danger lies. I've noticed in my own life that when I'm under constant pressure, when deadlines seem never-ending, I don't just feel tense in the moment. I carry that tension with me into the night, into my sleep, and sometimes even into the next day. That's cortisol refusing to let my body relax. What amazes me most is how seamlessly all of this happens. Stress is like a hidden conductor leading an orchestra inside me, cueing my heart, lungs, blood vessels, and even my brain chemistry to work in sync. It's brilliant, really. Evolution designed this response to keep us alive. Without it, our ancestors wouldn't have survived predators, accidents, or even the challenges of finding food. In many ways, stress is one of the reasons humanity exists at all. But when I step back and think about it, there's something almost eerie about how little control I have over it. One moment I'm calm, the next I'm flooded with sensations I didn't choose. It feels like my body has a secret life of its own, a hidden protocol that overrides everything I thought I was in control of. And that's the paradox of stress. It's both a guardian and a saboteur, depending on how long it sticks around. The first time I really reflected on this, I felt a strange mix of gratitude and unease. Gratitude, because in the short term, stress genuinely sharpens me. It makes me faster, more alert, even more capable. Unease, because I could see how easily this survival system could turn against me if it didn't switch off. And honestly, I started wondering, how many of the aches, fatigue, or restless nights I've experienced were actually just symptoms of stress running in the background, refusing to let go. What I know for certain now is that stress isn't just a feeling. It's a full-body event, one that touches everything from my heartbeat to my digestion to the way my brain interprets the world. And the most shocking part is that it doesn't take a life or death situation to set it off. Something as small as a text message, a meeting reminder, or even a stray thought about the future can ignite this chain reaction. That realization alone made me rethink how I view the daily pressures I face. So when people tell me, "Don't stress, it's all in your head," I can't help but shake my head. Because now I know, without a doubt, that stress isn't confined to the mind. It's in the bloodstream, the heartbeat, the breath. It's in the trembling hands and the tight chest. It's in the way we prepare to face life, whether we want to or not. And for me, understanding that truth was the first step in learning how to manage it before it manages me. For most of my life, I thought of stress as nothing but a burden, something I needed to escape at all costs. But the more I've experienced and learned, the more I realize that stress isn't always the villain we make it out to be. In fact, sometimes stress feels like an unexpected ally, pushing me beyond what I thought I could handle. Yet, at the same time, I've also seen how it can turn on me, dragging me into exhaustion and even pain when it overstays its welcome. That's the strange paradox I want to explore. Is stress really a friend, or is it the enemy we should fear? When I think back to certain moments in my life, I can see just how much stress has helped me. I remember one time when I had to give a presentation in front of a group of executives. My palms were sweating, my heart was racing, and my stomach felt like it had butterflies trying to escape. At that moment, I thought, this is terrible. I'm too nervous to do this. But as soon as I stepped onto the stage, I felt a surge of energy, as if my body was propelling me forward. My voice projected louder, my mind was sharper, and I was able to connect with the audience in a way I didn't expect. Looking back, I realized that stress was actually the driving force that gave me that extra edge. Without it, I might have stumbled through the talk, hesitant and uncertain. With it, I felt alive, energized and capable. That's the gift of short-term stress. It pushes us, focuses us, and even sharpens our abilities. Think about how athletes use stress before a big game, or how soldiers rely on it in moments of crisis. Even something as simple as a deadline at work can transform into fuel when your body channels that pressure into action. In small bursts, stress can feel like a personal coach, urging you to step up, rise higher, and meet the challenge. And I won't lie, there have been times when I've thrived under that pressure, when I've walked away feeling stronger, more resilient, and even proud of myself. But here's where things shift, and it's a shift I've felt in my own life more times than I'd like to admit. Stress doesn't always turn off when the moment is over. I've had nights where I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying conversations, worrying about tomorrow's tasks, and feeling my chest tighten even though there's no immediate threat. That's when stress stops being a coach and starts being a captor. It holds me hostage in my own body, keeping me awake, draining my energy and quietly wearing me down. This is the dark side of stress, the side fueled by cortisol that lingers long after it's useful. At first, I didn't notice it. I thought it was just me being bad at relaxing. But over time, the signs became clear. My digestion felt off, I caught colds more easily, and my mood became unpredictable. Small inconveniences made me snap, and even joyful moments felt clouded by this constant hum of tension. That's when I realized that prolonged stress wasn't just uncomfortable, it was destructive. The hardest part for me was admitting that I couldn't just think my way out of it. Telling myself to calm down never worked. My body was already wired, flooded with hormones it didn't know how to release. And the more I ignored it, the worse it seemed to get. That's when I started experimenting with ways to reset my system. Simple breathing exercises became my go-to tool. I would close my eyes, inhale deeply, hold it for a few seconds, and then let it go slowly. At first, it felt almost silly, like how could something so simple make a difference? But to my surprise, those deep breaths acted like a signal to my nervous system. It's okay, you're safe, you can let go now. Exercise became another crucial outlet. On days when my mind was spinning, a quick jog or even a walk outside made a massive difference. It wasn't just about burning energy, it was about teaching my body that it could release the stress instead of holding on to it. And sleep, something I used to sacrifice without a second thought, suddenly became non-negotiable. The nights I actually allowed myself to rest were the mornings I woke up feeling like a new person, instead of dragging yesterday's tension into the new day. I also learned the importance of mental boundaries. In the past, I would carry my work worries into dinner, into bed, and even into conversations with friends. It was like I never gave myself permission to step away. But slowly, I began setting limits. closing the laptop at a certain hour, silencing notifications and reminding myself that rest was not laziness, but recovery. And every time I respected those boundaries, I noticed my stress response soften. My body no longer felt like it was stuck in high alert mode 24/7. What struck me the most through all of this is how stress revealed both my strengths and my weaknesses. In the short term, it highlighted my resilience, my ability to rise to the occasion, and my inner drive. In the long term, it exposed my vulnerability, showing me just how fragile I could become when I let stress dictate my life. That duality is what makes stress so complex. It's not purely good or purely bad, it's both. The key is knowing when it's helping and when it's hurting. So now, when I feel that familiar surge of adrenaline before a big challenge, I don't automatically label it as negative. I remind myself that this energy can be a tool if I channel it well. At the same time, I keep an eye on the aftermath, watching for signs that stress has overstayed its welcome, because I know from experience how quickly it can shift from friend to foe. In the end, I think of stress as fire. A small flame can light your way, warm you, and even cook your food. But if you let it grow unchecked, it consumes everything in its path. The trick is not to fear the fire, but to respect it, to manage it, and to know when to let it burn and when to put it out. That's the balance I'm still learning every day. And maybe you are too. Because in this fast-paced, high-pressure world we live in, stress is unavoidable. The question isn't whether we'll feel it, it's how we'll respond when we do. Will we let it sharpen us for the moment, or will we let it linger until it breaks us down? For me, the answer lies in awareness, in daily practices, and in the choice to reclaim control over my body's response. The more I've thought about stress, the more I've come to see it as not just a personal struggle, but a collective one. It isn't just me lying awake at night with a racing mind, or you feeling your heart pound before a big meeting. Stress has become woven into the fabric of modern life. Everywhere I look, whether it's friends juggling demanding jobs, parents balancing work with raising kids, or young people scrolling endlessly through social media, I see signs of the same tension. It's as if our entire society has agreed to live in a state of constant alert, constantly switched on, constantly bracing for the next demand. And I can't help but wonder, what is all of this doing to us in the long run? I think about my grandparents sometimes. Their lives were far from easy. They worked hard, often with little money and few resources, but they also had stretches of quiet. They had evenings without buzzing phones, mornings that began with a slow cup of coffee, weekends where time felt slower and less urgent. Compare that to today, where even on vacation I find myself checking emails, watching the clock, or planning the next task. It feels like stress has evolved right alongside our technology, speeding up as the world has sped up, until we're living in a reality where rest feels almost impossible. And that's the paradox. We have more conveniences now than ever before, but somehow life feels heavier. I've noticed it in my own body. On days when I barely touch my phone or step away from screens, my shoulders feel looser, my mind calmer, my breath deeper. But on the days I'm consumed by endless alerts, my body reacts as though I'm under attack, even if the attack is just a flood of notifications. Stress doesn't care if the threat is a tiger or a to-do list. To my nervous system, it's all the same. This realization has changed the way I look at people around me. When I see a co-worker snapping in frustration or a parent rushing their kids with visible exhaustion, I don't just see impatience anymore. I see stress in action. I see the invisible weight they're carrying, the hormones rushing through their body, the same fight or flight machinery that I know all too well. And suddenly it makes me more compassionate, because if stress is this unavoidable part of our biology, then we're all fighting invisible battles every day. But that leads me to a bigger question. If stress is part of being human, and if modern life only seems to amplify it, then what's the solution? I don't think it's about eliminating stress entirely. That's impossible. What I do think, though, is that we need to get better at recognizing it, naming it, and deciding how to respond to it. For me, that starts with honesty. I've had to admit to myself that I can't operate at full speed every single day without paying the price. I've had to learn that rest isn't indulgence. It's medicine. I've also realized that connection plays a huge role. Some of my most stressful days have been soothed not by isolation, but by conversation, sharing worries with a friend, laughing about the absurdity of certain pressures, or simply sitting with someone who understands has a power that no deep breathing exercise can fully replace. Stress thrives in silence, but it softens in community. And maybe that's something we've lost in this hyper-individualistic age, the reminder that we don't have to carry it alone. When I look ahead, I can't help but feel both worried and hopeful. Worried because if we continue at this pace, stress will quietly undermine our health on a massive scale. Chronic illnesses, mental health struggles, burnout, it's already happening all around us. But I'm hopeful too, because knowledge is power. The more we understand about what stress really is, the biology behind it, the dual role it plays as both protector and destroyer, the more tools we have to reclaim control. I keep coming back to this idea. Stress is a signal. It's my body's way of telling me something needs attention. Sometimes that something is an external problem I need to solve, like a project deadline. Other times, it's an internal problem, like the fact that I haven't rested, moved, or connected with anyone in days. The signal itself isn't the enemy, it's my response to it that matters most. And when I reframe it that way, stress no longer feels like a monster looming over me. It feels like a messenger pointing me back to balance. Still, the line between helpful stress and harmful stress is thin, and it's not always easy to spot. That's why I've started asking myself simple questions whenever I feel overwhelmed. Is this stress helping me grow, or is it draining me? Is it pushing me toward a goal, or pulling me away from joy? If I'm honest, sometimes the answer is uncomfortable. But that honesty has saved me from slipping too deep into patterns that I know would hurt me in the long run. And maybe that's the question I want to leave with you, because I don't have all the answers. How do you tell the difference between the stress that sharpens you and the stress that slowly breaks you down? How do you know when to lean into the pressure and when to step back? I believe that if we can answer those questions for ourselves and share those answers with one another, we'll be one step closer to living healthier, more intentional lives in a world that never seems to slow down. Looking back on everything we've explored about stress, one truth stands out clearly. Stress is not just an emotion, it's a full body experience. It's the racing heartbeat when you're startled, the surge of adrenaline before a big moment, and the lingering cortisol that keeps you wired long after the danger or the deadline has passed. In short bursts, stress sharpens us. It gives us focus, energy, and sometimes even the courage to perform at our best. But when it doesn't turn off, it slowly chips away at our health, our relationships, and even our sense of self. For me, this understanding has been eye-opening. I used to see stress as something purely negative, a monster I had to avoid at all costs. Now I see it more like a teacher, harsh at times, but also revealing. Stress has shown me where my limits are, but it has also revealed how resilient I can be when I learn to work with it instead of against it. That perspective shift has been powerful. I don't fear every moment of pressure anymore. I welcome the kind that pushes me to grow, while staying mindful of the kind that quietly drains me. The biggest lesson I've taken away is balance. Stress in itself is not the problem. The problem is when I allow it to run unchecked. That's why I've started making small but intentional changes in my life. Breathing exercises when I feel overwhelmed, walks outside to reset my mind, putting my phone away at night to give my brain a chance to truly rest, and maybe most importantly, reaching out to friends and loved ones instead of carrying the weight alone. These little choices remind me that while I can't eliminate stress, I can shape my response to it. And that's the hope I want to leave you with. Stress doesn't have to control us. We have the power to notice it, to interpret its signals, and to decide how to respond. We can let short-term stress be our ally, helping us rise to challenges while protecting ourselves from the long-term stress that slowly erodes our well-being. So let me ask you, how do you personally recognize when stress is helping you and when it's hurting you? I'd love to hear your perspective, because your insights might just help someone else who's struggling to tell the difference. Please share your thoughts in the comments below so we can learn from one another. And if this message resonated with you, I invite you to subscribe to The Wellness Way. Your support means the world, and it gives us the motivation to keep creating content that helps us all live healthier, more balanced lives.